Welcome to the All the Stuff podcast, where we jam about money, clutter, and food, and the real stuff under this stuff. Join me, Lisa Carpenter, your resident food coach, along with my co-hosts, money coach Jen Turrell and clutter coach Lisa Sharp, as we help you release what's weighing you down and heal your relationship with food, money, and clutter from the inside out.
Hey everybody, welcome to today's episode of All the Stuff. I am Jen Turrell here with Lisa Sharp and Lisa Carpenter, my co-hosts, where we talk about food, money, clutter, and all the stuff, right? Was this
my princess wave? Were we doing a little throwback? Yeah.
If anyone is listening on iTunes rather than watching on YouTube, you're missing out on Lisa Carpenter's awesome princess wave. So you may have to.
I've never actually been a princess.
I think that seems kind of like the queen.
Yeah.
The queen or the princess of England, rather than like a Disney princess on a float.
Yeah, right. Just very controlled, yes.
So today...
Who, me? The recovering control freak? Controlled? What? Okay.
I'm sitting here clicking if you were wondering what that noise is, that's me clicking my pen, which I'm going to stop doing now. So today we're going to talk about trying new things, and I felt inspired to talk about this topic by my daughter, Tallulah, last night, who went trick-or-treating for the first time in her life. So if you've listened for a while, you might know my oldest daughter, Tallulah, has autism. She's relatively significantly affected by autism. She also has a white blood cell disorder, massive food allergies, wheat, dairy, peanuts, tree nuts, fish, shellfish, all kinds of things. So as you can imagine, Halloween is not the funnest thing for her usually. She's easily startled. She gets surprised. She doesn't like loud noises. She doesn't like things being too much out of the ordinary. So we'd always kind of protected her from Halloween in the past by either leaving our home and going somewhere else. A few times we went and did the Walk for Autism. It's usually on Halloween Day in Phoenix. So we'd stay in a hotel. She likes dressing up herself, being a princess or something like that, but she doesn't particularly like other people, particularly scary outfits, masks, things like that freak her out. And who wouldn't they freak out? But I think having autism on top of everything made it extra difficult. So we had just decided that Halloween was not something that we did. This year, however, our youngest, Miffy, who is 7, fell in love with A Nightmare Before Christmas. And then Tim Burton, so we started watching The Corpse Bride. Like, they got kind of scarier and scarier, and I was surprised how much she liked them. And Tallulah started kind of watching them, too, and I was like, okay. Miffy was Sally from The Night Before Christmas this year. Tallulah picked out Jasmine, and we were like, okay, I guess we'll just wear the costumes to the school carnival, which happens in the afternoon a few days before Halloween. But we still won't do Halloween. But Miffy was absolutely determined to do Halloween. And the morning of Halloween, which was a Monday this year, we were talking about what we were going to do. Like, okay, well, maybe Daddy and Nicolette, who's one of our helpers for rehabilitation and respite, could take Miffy trick-or-treating while Mommy goes to Picasso Pizza, where they have, allergen-free pizza, with Tallulah to kind of sit out the whole trick-or-treating thing. And Miffy said, no, Tallulah shouldn't always have to stay inside. Tallulah should go trick-or-treating too. And it kind of broke my heart. So I asked Tallulah, do you want to go trick-or-treating? And she said yes. So we said, okay, oh my gosh, we're going to try it. And we did it, and she absolutely loved it. If you are a Facebook friend of mine, you can go check out the pictures from Halloween on my Facebook page. If you're not my friend, you can friend me, or maybe I'll put some in our group, or All the Stuff group, if anyone wants to see my kids trick-or-treating for the first time in their life. It was fantastic, and they really did well, and I realized that I was limiting her by saying, okay, in the past this hasn't worked out, so it's just not something we do. We just don't do Halloween. And that it didn't have to be that way necessarily, and I should give my daughter the chance to grow and progress and learn and do some of the things that other normal kids get to do, and that she obviously does want to do too. So it got me thinking about the times we do that to ourselves too, of like, oh, I'm just not someone who can do public speaking, or I'm just not someone who gets up live in front of people, or, there are all kinds of things that we can tell ourselves that we don't do, or that we aren't, or that that's not for us. And we might be limiting ourselves. So that's what I was thinking about. What do you guys think about that topic?
I love it. Because I used to limit myself all the time with stuff I could do. And a lot of it was because I was hiding behind my perfectionism, right? So I had to look a certain way. I had to be a certain way. I didn't want to look like an idiot, so I never wanted to be laughed at. There was no, the word grace again pops up. There was no grace in my life. I wasn't very kind to myself. And, when I started to make the decision to just try things, everything started to change. So there's some things I've tried that I really don't particularly like that I won't do again. Like, we've got this place on the coast called Tofino where you can go and surf and you have to wear a wetsuit and it's cold. Well, I really don't like being cold and wet. So it was great. And I was like, I'm good. My lips are blue. I don't need that experience again. I will challenge myself now to go on scary rides. I don't really like being scared, but I'll do scary rides. And I think one of the events that pops into my head, this was not this past summer, but the summer before, we were staying on a lake with some friends and there was a rope swing that you could swing out into the lake. And I thought, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this because there's nothing worse than having an experience right in front of you and then not doing it and getting home and being like, oh, I wish I'd done that. Like, I don't want to live with the I wish I'd done that anymore. And so I climbed up and I looked out and I was like, oh, it looked way higher. Once you were up holding the rope, it was very scary. But I took a big breath and swung out and let go. And it was super fun. And that's not the first time in my life that I've let myself do things that I thought, okay, I can't do that. Or, what would that be like? So I highly encourage it. And I encourage my clients to really look at the beliefs that they're holding around. I can't do that. So, they're carrying extra weight on their body. Well, I can't go kayaking. Well, why can't you go kayaking? Like, you'll fit in the boat. You're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. You don't have to wait until you get to a certain place before you let yourself try things. And so often we hold the living like outside of our body at arm's length. Well, I can't do X, Y, and Z until I have this, right? Until this is happening. And when we just try new things without putting all the restrictions around them, it's amazing what can happen. I've seen amazing things within my clients when they've started to do stuff that they never thought was possible. How about you, Lisa Sharp?
Oh man, this is like is there a big bullseye on my head right now? Mm-hmm. This is tricky because I think in a lot of ways I've pushed past a lot of my beliefs about what I can do and what I'm capable of and those sort of things. And then, but like as we're talking, I'm like, yeah, but I wouldn't do that. Yeah, but I wouldn't do that. And I'm always like a big believer in like whatever your story is that pops up immediately, that's the thing. Right? Cause that's always the one that we like body throw ourselves. We're like, no, not that thing. No way that would be the worst, whatever that is. And, so like heights, oh my God, I'm so afraid of heights. I am, and public speaking, I'm actually really pretty introverted. I mean, like I'm very comfortable talking to people that I don't know, but my energy comes from just hanging out by myself and having a pretty quiet life. But people are often surprised that I'm really, really afraid. I mean, like petrified of public speaking. And I've done very little of it. And then once I actually get up and when I start to do it, I'm fine. But like the idea of it is like, no way. I remember in high school when we had to do public speaking, I would do like absolutely anything to get out of it. I would be like absent that day, take the assignment that, was like 30 times harder instead of just standing in front of the class for 2 minutes. I'd be like, yeah, I'll write that 30-page paper. Sure. No problem. Just because I was so afraid of doing it. And what I know from over the last 5 years or so since I started, I've had multiple businesses since 5 years ago I started doing that. And what I know is that there are a lot of ways that you can baby step your way into this. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. You don't have to step off of the platform over the lake if that's not comfortable for you. And sometimes it's really great to take that route, and sometimes it's really great to just, get used to the temperature of the water before you totally get in. So, but I think about a number of things that I've done over the last year, including when I met you, Lisa, when we went to Breckenridge, Colorado for a business retreat. And one of the things that we did, it was a retreat that was put on by Adrienne Dorison. who's like Ms. Athlete, right? And she had us do stand-up paddle yoga in a freezing cold lake. So
that's a thing?
That's a thing.
You're standing on a floating thing in a lake doing yoga.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
And the thing could overturn if you unbalance.
Yeah. Oh, right? It can. And it does.
It did.
And it does.
See, that's something
Someone got wet.
Yeah. Like,
the idea of even trying that would never have occurred to me.
Right. So I'm like, okay, I will do this for Adrian because I love Adrian. And Adrian loves pushing people's limits. And I really do believe that it's really good for us to physically push ourselves to overcome mental hurdles, right? Because we don't think that we're as physically capable as we actually really are. And so it's good to do that. So I got the psychology of why she was doing this, but I was like, I'm going down. I know this is going to be really ugly. Like I'm pretty good at yoga, and I've taken a lot of yoga classes and stuff. I'll say that. So I wasn't really afraid of the yoga, but I was like, this is going to get ugly. And it did. I went over within 30 seconds. And it was really muddy. It was like, we had like paddled out, and the paddling itself was really fun. And until I went over, when I was doing a downward facing dog or something, but anyway, so it was not a pleasant experience, and I probably wouldn't do that again. But it was still fun. I mean, like falling over wasn't fun, but I enjoyed the camaraderie, and I could have easily just been like, no, I'm going to sit this thing out. I'm just going to journal over here. I'm going to sit by the lake and not do this. But again, Lisa, is like what you said. I just thought, no, I'm not. I'm all in. I am all in this experience. I paid to be here. I love the people that I'm here with, and I want to participate. I want to be with everybody else. And so this could go horribly wrong, but it didn't, and it was fine. But yeah, so I think pushing ourselves is so, it has such a beautiful effect on the way we see ourselves. And then that expands in all kinds of different ways. And then next thing you know, you're like eating a new vegetable, or you're taking the new route, away from your house, or you're buying new shoes, or, I mean, it's like, it makes everything more vibrant, it makes life more vibrant because you feel like you're engaged and you're not just sort of existing. You're not just putting in the time, like we're always doing these sort of like mildly pleasant things all day long. But that's not the juicy stuff in life. The juicy stuff in life is when you learn how to fly an airplane and you get up and you go do this thing, and, you push yourself, you write the book, you do the, stand in front of a crowd, whatever. And that's when it's like, and I think that sort of puts us in touch with how beautiful life is and how fleeting it is. Like, holy crap, I just spent the whole last 3 months really not doing much of anything. And sometimes in life that's okay. And there is definitely the ebb and flow to life where sometimes you're really, really engaged and sometimes you're not for a variety of reasons. But when we get stuck out, in this sort of coasting along, phase, that's when, depression can kind of creep in, and, our mental health can start tanking, and we always have control over that. And that's the beautiful thing about life, is that the decision that you make this afternoon could change your life. I mean, it's just always there. It's just more a matter of, are we willing to engage with it and sit with fear and talk to fear and do it anyway, and not just let fear drive the bus.
There's a saying that I love, that fear is excitement without breath. And I love this conversation because it's making me remember, when I left my first marriage, one of the reasons I left was because I knew I wanted a life of more adventure. And my ex-husband is a really, really great man. He's a fantastic father, but he's really content with just being at home, watching TV, simple life. Whereas I was like, let's go, travel the world and do stuff. And you guys know how much I love to travel. Traveling scares the bejesus out of me. Like I start to feel anxious when I know that I've got to go to the airport and I got to check in, and I got my bags and I got my stuff and my things, and,
how many shoes do I bring?
How many shoes do I bring? How do I pack? All that kind of stuff. I get so excited about it. But I was thinking, I have done so many things outside of my comfort zone because I really committed to myself that if I was going to leave my marriage, if I was going to flip my life upside down and I was going to change the life of my kids, that I had a responsibility to show up in my life differently. So I remember when I went skydiving, I did skydiving on my anniversary, and when you're strapped to somebody, let me tell you, you can't say no, like you're strapped to them. It was an awesome experience. The falling part, I didn't like when the parachute opened, which is an important part of the whole process. But I love the free fall.
It'd be better than it not opening.
I know, right? My brain shut off. I remember going to Jamaica and standing on the edge of the cliff, and these guys were doing these amazing, like, cliff diving. And I was determined I was going to jump off that cliff, and I don't like heights either. It's not even that I don't like heights. I don't like that feeling of falling. So when you jump out of an airplane, you don't feel like you're falling because you're traveling at the same speed. So you get a rush of adrenaline, but you don't get that like jumping off a dive board falling, which is why I said, okay, I can do that. But when you jump off a cliff, you definitely feel like you're falling, which is why I say I'll never bungee jump, but maybe I will after this conversation. I must have stood there for an hour and a half. And the guys were like playing chess beside me. They're like, hey, white lady, are you going to jump? And, finally Macy came up and took my hand and said, on the count of 3, you're just going to jump. And I knew that if I didn't go on 3, that I would still be standing up there. And I didn't want to not have that experience. So we jumped, and guess what? I'm still alive. Everything's good. And even that's carried over into, the Tough Mudders that I've done. And, I took myself to Vegas once. I decided to just rent a car and start driving. I ended up at the Grand Canyon. Things that I never thought were possible for me. And now I look back on them and go, wow, did I really do that? And I have to pull from those experiences to remind myself that I'm capable. Because since Jake's come along, in all honesty, I've kind of settled back into the, not wah-wah, but
yeah, no, I mean,
it's like life is chill, right? When I met my husband, there was a lot more excitement and enthusiasm because it was like me embracing life again. And that's a big thing for me right now, is still looking at how can I bring that excitement and enthusiasm and do things on the regular that are outside of my comfort zone and really light me up. Mm-hmm. I don't know what that's going to look like. Stay tuned, because now I feel like I need to go find something.
I know, right? I'm like, do we just challenge ourselves to do a bunch of crazy stuff? What just happened here, Jen?
Well, I think we should. And you know what? As you were talking about that, I was thinking in, okay, I'm going to refer to some book again, but I can't actually remember which one it was. It may have been one of Laura Vanderkam's one. Lisa Sharp, you read her, don't you?
I did
the 168 hours, you have more time than you think. And
that's the only one I've read. That's a great book, by the way. I highly recommend it to our audience. Jen and I have talked about it before. Yeah.
I love Laura. And she's even done some on finance ones, All the Money in the World, which was a really, really great book, too. It was a really great take on, it was basically like looking at if you had all the money that you needed to do everything you ever wanted to do, what exactly would you do? If money was no impediment to anything. Yeah, and then it's looking at like the small steps you can take towards each of those things right now, given what you have. Like, you may not be able to buy an island, but, on a vacation, you could go see an island. You could go stay on
an island.
Yeah, you could set foot on an island. Maybe there's some smaller island nearby, all those kind of things. And one of them, there was this thing of making a 100-thing list. And it was 100 because you don't want to give each one so much weight. If you only have like a bucket list of 5 things, you're going to want to do some pretty big 5 things, right? But if you have a list of 100 things, you can pick off month by month, week by week, start going through them. Like, I've always wanted to learn how to play the viola or, the oboe or, some instrument you've never tried. Or I would kind of I'd like to visit Iceland someday. That's one of mine. I've never had a reason to go to Iceland, so I haven't, but I saw Alexis Pierce, her photos from Iceland recently, and I was like, what did she go to Iceland? I feel like I need a reason to go to Iceland.
No.
I've never just made it a destination, but that's one of my problems. If I've never done vacations with vacation in mind, it's always been, I'm going to this place for a reason, and then I find nice things too. Like even Australia, New Zealand, Japan, that was when we were touring in bands, so I would always find these things. But anyways, back to the 100 things list. I at that time, it was a couple of years ago, I made a 100 things list, and I was like, I really like having this list because I can kind of think about things that I want to do. And I have made an effort to do lots of my bucket list things, like learning how to fly an airplane and getting my pilot license. Like those are things I enjoyed doing, and it felt like a really big accomplishment because not everyone does them, and it does take some effort. But when you think about things, again, I'm thinking of another book I read, which was The Things That People Regret on Their Deathbed. Do you guys remember the woman it was a nurse who wrote this book?
Yeah.
I can't think of the name right now, but maybe we'll find it for the show notes. Anyways, it was almost always things you regret not doing, and very rarely things you regret doing, unless it involved hurting people actively. War, murder, stuff like that. I think people regret doing those things, but mostly people's regrets in life are like, not that I wish I'd have worked more, but I wish I'd have spent more time with my family. I wish I'd have traveled more. I wish I would have enjoyed this more. I wish I would have appreciated this at the time. So, looking at things that way, it's nice to not just let all the months and years slip away. Like we're at the very end of 2016 right now. This felt like a really long year to me. Did it to you guys? I don't know. It felt like kind of a rough year, to be honest. But I think it's good to look back and be like, what did I get done, and what would really cap this year off? What do I want to do the next 2 months that would make this a stellar year? And for me, one thing that I'm doing is I'm doing NaNoWriMo, which is the National Novel Writing Month contest. I've mentioned it other times, but I was talking to my friend Neve Arthur, and we were talking about our businesses, which is what we usually talk about, and it came out in conversation that we both always wanted to write fiction. We both always wanted to write a novel. I was a creative writing major. I always meant to do it, and I have never done it. So for me, writing a book this month, is something that I have always wanted to do, and I am going to try it, and I'm telling people I'm trying it because I want to make it happen. So I think that's another good thing, is to not only try things, let people know you're going to do it, because I think that encourages you to do it even more, and then people can celebrate it with you. That feels even better. And if you do fall off the paddleboard, or if you do decide not to jump off the cliff, I'm still having company. Yeah, whatever. It's totally fine. You tried.
So are we challenging each other to find one new thing to try?
Yeah. Let's find something new to try.
Something new to try.
Okay, but the audience has to participate in this too, and y'all have to come over to our podcast Facebook group and tell us what you are going to do. I want this to be a group effort.
And then I want to see a picture.
And celebrate. Yeah.
And a picture with it. Okay, so that sounds like... All right. Fun. So put the can'ts down. Pick the thing you want to do. Look at all your limiting beliefs around it, and then book it. And it doesn't have to be ginormous. It can be something little.
It doesn't have to be jumping on an airplane.
No, it doesn't have to be a big thing like that. It can be just something that you want. You've always really wanted to do. You're gonna get. Like I've got one client who knew she always wanted to do ballroom dancing, so she started ballroom dancing. Right. Ooh. I know that that's on my bucket list, is to get into. Yeah. I'd like to do Latin dancing lessons, and I'd actually like to start competing. I'm missing competition in my life on an athletic standpoint, but I don't really want to get back into fitness and figure, and I don't want to do CrossFit competition. No.
What about sports team?
I've never been a team sport person. I don't love team sports. I love individual sports, so that's just personal preference. So I don't know.
For me, team was the only reason to do sports. The only time I exercised was when I was part of a team. Yeah. Even badminton, which was more individual, but I still loved doubles was my thing.
Maybe I'll try snowboarding. It's going to be ski season here soon, so maybe I'll do snowboarding lessons or something. But anyways, it's probably a good place to wrap up. So if you are listening on iTunes, please go over and subscribe, rate, and review, and share us with all your friends and family, and get them on board with this kind of bucket list challenge.
And if you're watching it on YouTube, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any episodes. And then leave a comment down below. If you aren't going over to the Facebook group, which would be great if you did, you can leave a comment below with what you're going to try that you haven't done before. And let's do it before the end of the year. Yeah. Unless you watch this in 2017.
In which case, do it now.
Do it right now.
Do it now. That's a great thing about life, is that you can start right now, no matter what it is. We don't have to wait until we have the fresh start, beginning of the year, beginning of the school year, la 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 la. Nope, you can do it today. So yeah, so come over to the Facebook group. It is facebook.com/all the stuff, the podcast. Yes, I looked it up.
Good.
No, it is not. I take it back. It's just all the stuff podcast. There's no the in there.
Got it.
Okay.
So, but we'll also put the link below.
Awesome.
Thanks for joining us.
Okay, bye.
Bye, ladies.
Bye.